Fractions can be some of the hardest math for most of us to understand.
Who am I kidding? I have trouble with fractions.
Which can really become a problem whenever we need to measure or use something like a tape measure, especially if you're going to pursue some type of field like architecture or engineering. What I'm going to show you today and throughout the course of this series is some tips and tricks to help us better understand fractions and reading a tape measure to help make that whole process a lot easier. The first order of business I want to cover is this post I found on Reddit, where a Redditor was asking how they can memorize the 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, 1/4, 5/16 pattern going on and so forth throughout listing all the fractions of an inch. My answer to that Redditor would be to not think of that pattern as something that you have to memorize.
Let me explain.
Right here, each of these bars on this represents 1 inch in a tape measure, right? And you can see in this overlay how it has similar markings notating how the inch is broken up. Someone might think, well, every mark notates a totally independent, different unit, right? And there's no overlap, when in fact there is. So 1 inch can be broken down a lot of different ways, from 2 pieces all the way down to 16 pieces. That's how we most commonly use it. Now, you can get access to this easy inch puzzle game from American Math by going to the link in the pinned comment. And there you can also follow along with these activities at your own leisure. So a full inch is just that, a whole inch. That's pretty simple and easy to understand. Most of us don't have issues with inches. But when it gets tricky is when we get into fractions of an inch. So to start with the simplest fraction, inches can be cut in half. We can have 2 halves of an inch represented by these orange blocks right here, right? So the brown block is 1 inch and the orange blocks represent half an inch. Okay, perfect. Then each of these halves can then be broken in half themselves. So a half of a half is 1/4 of an inch. So every half inch has 2 quarters, and this so every half inch has 2 quarters. And every inch has a total of 4 quarters because it has the 2 halves. But as we can see here, that full inch can be broken up into 4 pieces. Now we can continue going and cut the 4th in half. Cutting a 4th in half gives us 1/8 of an inch, like this. So every 4th has 2. We cut in half has 2/8. So we need to drop in 2/8 underneath each of these quarters. So we can come through and drop it in like this. Now you can only guess what we're going to do with these 8s now. You guessed it. We're going to cut them in half to make 16ths of an inch. So every 8 is going to have 2 16ths beneath it. All right. So I'll fast forward as I fill this up. All right, so with that, we have our overall inch outlined, right? An inch can be broken down into halves, halves can be broken down into quarters, quarters can be broken down into 8ths, and 8ths can be broken down into 16ths. This first step was necessary so that we can first understand what the parts of an inch are before we go into organizing them and counting up to build a full inch, which we'll be doing in our next video. If this video was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. And if there's any way that we can improve or any questions that you have, please leave them in the comments below, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you, and see you in part 2.